What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode, and specifically episode 3. Now today we're gonna be making something that I haven't really made in a while, maybe a month or two. Man, has it really been that long? Quarantine, man. But anyways, we're gonna be making fresh salsa, and specifically 2 different ones that I like to make. We're gonna be making a Pico de Gallo, as well as a Salsa Verde, and one would be like a green salsa and one would be more of a colorful salsa if you've never heard those terms. But both are gonna be made from scratch in the kitchen right here today. And definitely something that you're gonna wanna follow along with, because this just transforms all those dishes that you love salsa on. It's just way better to have your own fresh salsa at hand at all times. So with that being said, let's go over some of the ingredients that's gonna go in both of these salsas. So for the Pico de Gallo, let's make that one first. That's just gonna be a hand chopped salsa. And we're gonna be making that specifically with Roma tomatoes, some green pepper, a lime, 1 jalapeno. Although this one is gigantic. I mean, look at that compared to my hand. I'm not gonna be using all that. Cilantro, everyone's favorite, and red onion. The first step that I take in making the salsa is always to cut the tomatoes. I like to cut them and dice them and then let them kind of marinate in the lime juice and some salt, and it just kind of, I don't know, it just brings out some more flavor of the tomato while I'm cutting up the rest of the veggies. That's just something that I like to do. I'm not sure if it's technically right, but it is something that I've been doing ever since I started making salsa. So you can feel free to do that as well. But I did want to show you specifically how I cut these tomatoes. I think it's actually how Chipotle cuts their tomatoes. I had a friend who worked at Chipotle once, shout out Bryce, and he showed me how they cut their tomatoes and do it super fast. So I want to show you how that works right here. So, get your trusty knife. You definitely want it to be sharp, right? You can see the shape of this tomato, right? You know, it's taller than it is wide. So you're gonna split it down the center. And then from this side, you're also going to do another split down the center. Lay it flat and split down the center like so. So you get 2 little pieces. I'm gonna do it again with this. So now I have 4 pieces, right? And what I'm gonna do, and it's a bit of a process, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna cut this tomato, move it 90 degrees, and then cut the opposite direction. And then what you get there is perfectly sized pieces of tomato for the salsa. I'm just gonna set that off to the side and do it all over for all the tomatoes. Now it's also important to note that, like, I get it. It takes a lot of time to cut these tomatoes, and I'm kind of timing myself right now. It's been maybe a couple minutes so far, and I'm still plugging along. But really, this is also just a really great way of sharpening your skills with a knife as well. And, you know, some people don't have practice, but it is one of those things that helps with cooking so much more. You're able to get things done quicker and chop things up finer, and dicing a tomato and dicing these other vegetables is just a really good practice to get that craft a little bit better home. You may get to a tomato that's a little bit too thick, and in this case, I just did 3 different pieces instead of the 2 that I did before. And yeah, that'll be totally fine. Okay, that took a bit. That was about 7 minutes. I blame that on my knife being not too sharp. I could have sharpened it a little bit more. If you don't have too many sharp knives in your kitchen, just use a serrated knife. Definitely not a steak knife, but I mean, this could work as well. But if you have some sort of serrated knife that has a shorter blade, sometimes that's just easier to get through tomatoes, because tomatoes have a really tough skin, and if you don't have a super sharp knife, game over. That is the moral of the story. And that's why it took me a little bit longer. But end of this rambling, let's cut some onion. Okay, I know I said I was gonna cut some onion, which we will get to that. I wanna first season the tomatoes just a bit with some salt. And with the salt, I'm just gonna show you here. Ah, frick. I literally just like to coat the top of it so I can see the salt. It's gonna dissolve. And then after that, that's when once I mix everything together, I'll decide if I need more salt or not. Also, we're gonna throw some lime in there. Okay. Onto the onion. Let's go. We'll tip and tail it. just to get those off. And I like to do a little slice down the middle there and then get this top layer off. And this is a cool trick. I'm honestly only gonna be using half of this onion or somewhat of half. And I think this is gonna be a good half. Oh, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna slice through it like this. I'm gonna do another slice through as well. I'm gonna now do the opposite direction, but not fully through. Crap, that one was fully through. Oh no, oh no. And then it just goes like that. Get our bowl, toss the onions in there, you're all set. All right, with the green pepper, you're gonna flatten the top, flatten the bottom. And I learned this one, oof, gosh, I'm gonna remember that sometime. I learned this trick from Gordon Ramsay. Not directly, because most people have not been able to meet the guy, but that white membrane in the center of it, it's the bitter taste of the pepper. So, top and bottom flatten it so you are safe on the cutting board. And then we're just going to glide our knife on the edge, missing that white membrane, right? Oh, gonna grab a little bit of that, but as you can tell, pretty much get it all without having to even open it up and core it, which is pretty dang cool. And then what I like to do is I just like to julienne, which is a thin cut. I don't know why I'm using chef terms because I am not a chef 100%, but I've heard the term. And that's usually what it looks like. Oh, my rag! And then you get to go the opposite direction with it, and then you get really nice thin pieces. So just a trick. Oh, I think I left the sticker on this one. Oh man. Maybe I'll get through one of these videos without just making a complete rookie mistake, but you know what? If I find the sticker, I'm just not gonna eat it, okay? Grab the jalapeno. I'm actually just gonna cut this guy down in the center. And I'm gonna use the bigger half because I like it spicy. And you know what? While I'm doing this, I might as well taste it to make sure it's not a super spicy jalapeno. And why do I do this? Not really. Oh, hold on. That one had some kick. That one had some kick. Now, once the jalapenos are done, we are going to do the one last ingredient, which is cilantro. Let's cut it up. Oh man, we'll see if that worked. It probably didn't. And once all the cilantro is in there now, we're done. At least almost done. Now we gotta mix it. All right, I need to give that a taste here. I might do a little bit more salt, but then it's good to go. That'll work. All right, let's go to the next one, and that is the Salsa Verde. So I'm gonna put this aside and clean up my station, and we'll get ready for the Verde. Okay, now I'm back, and I think I did not share the ingredients before for the Salsa Verde, so I'm gonna go over those now. Tomatillos, we're gonna need a lime again, white onion, cilantro, 2 Serrano peppers, garlic, there it is, and an avocado. Ooh, forgot one other thing. Also, some leftover iceberg lettuce, some sort of crunchy lettuce. Maybe the inside of a romaine husk, something that's gonna give a nice crunch to the salsa. It just gives a little bit more depth to the texture of the salsa. And first up, we just need to peel all of the tomatillos. And I'm just gonna show you how it's done here. You just take this little guy off. And what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna set it off to the side because these are pretty sticky and I wanna wash that as well. But I'm just gonna jump to these being done and we'll throw those in the blender. You can see the size of this tomatillo relative to my hand. I have about 12 of these. We're also now just going to half some Serranos. We're just gonna take out the stems there, and we're going to cut them in half just so they're easy for the blender. And then we're just gonna toss them right in. With the onion, we just need to do kind of a rough chop. I may use all of this, I may not, but similar to how we did the last one, we're just going to take that outer edge off. I want to do this in chunks so I can kind of tell how much I want. It depends on how big of an onion you get, right? And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to use about 1/3 of that onion and throw that there in the mix as well. Oh no. We're going to put the juice of 1 lime into this as well. That's a good lime actually. Also gonna toss in some of that lettuce. Now, I add kind of like that butt end of the lettuce there, you can see, and I'm gonna add just about half of that. You know what, it might not all fit right away because the tomatillos, not broken down, take up a lot of space. So I may blend up some of this right now, just because you can see it's starting to get pretty full. That'll give me enough space to work with the rest. We're also gonna put in maybe like 3 cloves of garlic. Always press the garlic and then you can peel it off the skin there. Cut those bad boys in half. Add them in. I had the darndest time, the hardest time trying to find a ripe avocado, and now I have the hiccups, sick. This was about as ripe as I could find it. I'm not promising anything for myself because I know what to expect, but if you can find a really ripe avocado, use it, obviously. But this was all I could work with. I am gonna show you a quick little trick though that I like to use when cutting avocados. Let's pit it. Let's pit it. Oh my gosh. Let's pit it. Oh my gosh, are you joking? Let's get it out. I like to cut the tip, the tail, and then peel back. This is only maybe when stuff isn't super ripe for you, but then you can peel it back and you don't waste any of the avocado in there. We're just gonna toss that in. All right, I had to try that way, but it clearly didn't work super well, so I'm just gonna use the old spoon method and do that for the second half, but I had to try, you know? If you wanna try it at home, go right ahead, but man, okay, that was way stinking easier, so maybe just completely disregard my first method, honestly. That's going in. And last but certainly not least is going to be some of this cilantro. I'm gonna put that head of cilantro in there. Don't have to chop it because the blender is gonna do all the chopping for me. Now we blend. I am also, before I do that, I'm gonna throw a bit of salt in there. And I'm gonna season the rest of it later. If you don't feel like you wanna put salt in right away, you don't have to. You can do it slowly but surely, but I've done this a couple times so I kinda know what I'm looking for with salt. Now what we're gonna be looking for is to see that the cilantro leaves are nice and finely chopped. And there we go. We can do just a little bit of a taste to make sure it doesn't need any more salt. I'm gonna put a little bit more salt in it, but once I put it in the bowl. A little bit of salt, a little bit more. Mix it in there. I'm gonna grab a chip and give her a taste. That's gonna work. That's gonna work. All right, so that is pretty much gonna be the end of it. Yeah, experiment with these a bit. I've seen these recipes as well myself, and or just seen how people do them online and kind of improvise on them myself. You know, add a little bit of lime to the Verde where some people might not add lime, or you know, some people might even add a little bit of orange juice to the Pico. Now I know that sounds a little weird, but I've seen it happen as well where people put a little bit of orange juice just to add a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of that tang that orange juice gives, and it mixes well. And I've tried it and it does work. It totally does work. I didn't do that to this one, but you could totally do it to yours. Experiment. Again, this is a great way to work on some knife skills. It's a great way to add some amazing sides to go along with any of your Mexican dishes that you're making during the week, whether that's tacos, burritos, or maybe you just want to make some huevos rancheros in the morning, or just do a simple scrambled egg with some nice salsa on top. Whatever it is, these salsas are a great addition to your weekly meals. And I definitely encourage you to get the knife in the hand, get your hands dirty, and make some of these salsas fresh from scratch, because I guarantee you they're gonna be better than what you can find at a grocery store. Like, subscribe, and definitely comment below if you have any other meals you'd like me to make, especially if it integrates these salsas. I'd love to give them a try. Also, if you make these, tag me on Instagram at Cooking with Cody. That's gonna be right here. And with that, over and out on this episode, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. Mm.